Good evening and welcome to the Missouri ACAC Show Me My Future College Recruitment, College Information Events. We have with us tonight representatives from Lynn University, and they're going to present to you on Lynn. Just a couple of things. If you want to interact with the participants, you use the Q&A button. As a reminder, your camera and microphone are turned off. The chat feature is disabled, but if you do want to interact, you use the Q&A feature. There are more sessions to sign up for. We have a full slate of sessions next week, and recordings are going to be available as well too. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to the representatives from Lynn.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here and get us started. All right, so my name is Bianca Simboli, and I am one of the admission counselors at Lynn University. So if you're signed into this session, I'm assuming that probably means you want some warmer weather during your college experience. So I am the admission counselor for Missouri, and I also work with students from North Florida, the Southeast, and other parts of the Midwest up to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. And I also work with transfer students in our office in various areas across the Midwest, as well as Florida and up in the Northeast. So I'm kind of all over the place. I've been at Lynn for about 2 years now. And tonight we're going to share some things with you about Lynn University. We'll give you a brief overview of what makes Lynn unique. But I figured it'd be fun to have one of our students join us tonight to chat with one of our awesome admission ambassadors, Max. So I'll let Max introduce himself in a second, but we'll also talk a little bit about our application process and kind of what makes it different, how to submit a competitive application to Lynn, and kind of what we're looking for as a university. So before I jump in even further, I'm gonna let Max introduce himself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Max Gold. I'm from Hohokus, New Jersey. For those that you don't know, that recognize the town name, it's near New York City. Studying aviation management. This is my senior year, my 4th year here at Lynn University. And again, I'm excited to share my experiences and kind of go over the student perspective of Lynn. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. So for those of you that are joining us tonight, we really want to make this as interactive as possible. Max is here to answer the student perspective for you. So we'll have time this evening to really dive into that. So please utilize the question and answer, the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to send us questions throughout the presentation. If you have questions about what it's like to be a student at Lynn and the college experience in South Florida, Max is here to answer those questions. And we'll talk a little bit about his experience as well. So please send those over at any point. And we will go and get started. So in terms of if you're new to Lynn or haven't quite heard about Lynn and you just want to find out some more information about who we are quite a unique campus located in South Florida. So if you're not familiar with South Florida, we are about an hour north of Miami, about 30 minutes from the Fort Lauderdale airport and about 30 minutes from the Palm Beach airport. So very accessible for students. I know a lot of our students fly in from Missouri and St. Louis and fly right into Fort Lauderdale. So very accessible, but Boca Raton is it's become really a great college town. There's about 40,000 college students in the area. There's a few different colleges, including Lynn, right in Boca. So there's a lot to do, and Max will talk a little bit more about that. It certainly does not hurt that we're about 5 miles from the beach. So we're in a great location on the east coast of Florida. And on top of that, the average temperature is around 75 degrees in South Florida, which is pretty great. It's been a little rainy here this week, but so far we've had some good temperatures. In addition to that, so Lynn is a smaller private university in South Florida. We have about 3,000 students on campus. But one thing that's really awesome about Lynn is our diversity. And this is my favorite part about the university. We are ranked as the top most international school in the region for our size. So we have students that come from all over the world at Lynn, and we really try to offer a global perspective on campus. Part of our mission is offering a personalized, innovative, and global educational experience. And really the student body that we bring into Lynn and the students that are attracted to Lynn really do make Lynn what it is. In addition to that, like I mentioned, Boca is a relatively big city slash town. I never know how to define it. Max, you probably can a little bit, but it's kind of like a small city. But it's actually one of the fastest growing metro areas in the United States right now, which is super exciting for our students because there's tons of internship opportunities, job opportunities. And because we're so close to the metro area, students can actually do internships and take on jobs during the semester. This is just a little bit of a snapshot about what kind of makes Lynn unique. Like I mentioned, we're about 3,000 students, so we really are focusing on that personal educational experience. About 35% of our students come from the state of Florida, so it's not even a majority of students. We've actually seen probably our largest number of students coming from Missouri in the last year, which is super exciting. We're about 18 to 20% international. Like I mentioned, our students come from 100 different countries, and now we're up to 47 different states, which is super exciting. So for such a small school to have students from nearly 100 different countries across the world, it's really going to offer you a very unique perspective in the classroom. We do fall into the liberal arts category, so our core curriculum is very unique to Lynn. It's much more of a conversation-based core curriculum, general education curriculum that you see anywhere else, but for us, it's a more applicable study of liberal arts concepts. And then all of our majors are focused in professional areas. So we have 6 different colleges. We have a College of Aeronautics, our College of Arts and Sciences, our business school, our communications program, education, and a conservatory of music. So we have a wide variety of programs for our students. And I think really what attracts our students to Lynn is the overall environment that Max will probably talk a little bit more about shortly. In addition to that, we have study abroad opportunities. We are a nationally ranked Division II athletic university with 19 different teams and 25 national titles. So our athletic environment is also a big part of what makes Lynn unique. And then in addition to that, we're at about an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you're really going to have access to your faculty members on campus, access to a variety of resources that you might need. You'll be able to get the help that you need when you want it. So I'm not going to continue rambling on, but we're going to get Max involved in this conversation a little bit. So like I said, if you're on this and you want to ask some questions about Lynn, please send those through the Q&A chat box. So Max, I'm going to just invite you to kind of talk about your experience, how you discovered Lynn. I know you're from New Jersey, we're talking to Missouri students, but you come from far away as well. So you've had an experience traveling to Lynn. So tell us a little bit about how you found us.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, it's funny because I've never actually met anyone from Missouri until I came to Lynn. There was a kid my freshman year from Branson, and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I've ever met someone from Missouri, but now I'm talking to people from Missouri. But yeah, I found Lynn through honestly just a general search for aviation schools. If you missed it before, I'm an aviation management student at Lynn. I was looking at all kind of the typical aviation schools. I have family in the Boca Raton area. My grandparents live down here during the winter time. They're snowbirds. So they also knew about Lynn. And it's really not that difficult moving from far away to Lynn, especially not just Lynn itself being so diverse, but the actual South Florida area is, I mean, probably most people aren't even from that area originally. So a lot of people are in the same boat with you, not just at Lynn, but other people in the area as well. But yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting experience so far. I mean, I've loved every second of it. That's why I love getting on these chats with Bianca and other admissions counselors and talking about my experience. But again, coming from like New Jersey, where it's a lot colder, farther away from Florida, it was a pretty easy transition overall. So yeah.
Awesome. And so for those of you that don't know, Max is also one of our admission ambassadors in our office. So you've been quite involved since you got to Lynn. So tell us a little bit about what you've been involved in. That way if students have questions, they can ask you specifically about the things that you do on campus.
Yeah. So the first thing I actually got involved with getting on campus was admissions. So I became a tour guide. We call them student ambassadors here at Lynn. Now I'm part of the leadership team with the student ambassadors, doing a lot of different data work and other different things with admissions. I've been up to New Jersey for the receptions, and I've done other different chats through Zoom. And then other things I've been involved with, I started up my own club at Lynn. That's one of the things that's super easy about Lynn, is that you can start your own club up. You only need professor's approval, not professor's approval, but as them as an advisor, or even just a faculty member. I'm sure Bianca could probably honestly count as an advisor if she wanted to.
I thought about this. I would like to, be an advisor of a club. So
Maybe.
maybe you want to start a new club at Lynn, I'm here for you.
But yeah, I started the aeronautics club, so we basically just kind of geek out about aviation stuff. And then I also was involved with housing and residence life as a resident assistant, RA, and a community advisor as well, which is overseeing the whole building instead of just a floor. And there's tons of things to get involved with at Lynn, whether or not it's joining a club or an organization, a fraternity, sorority, or a job on campus, or any of the events we have. There's so much to do, but those are just kind of the main things I've been involved with at Lynn.
So we obviously have a bunch of different majors on campus, but the aviation program is pretty unique for us. And we're lucky enough to be right next to an airport, right? So can you talk a little bit about like our aeronautics program and facilities that we have?
Yeah, it's a pretty unique program because we're one of the only schools in the nation that not only offers the flying, but it offers students to not only fly, but they can kind of do whatever major they want that's not aviation. I know there's a lot of schools when I was looking at that you only had the choice of doing aviation, but students I know that are flight students, they fly, but they're also communication students. My buddy Joey, he flew at Lynn. I think he got up to his private license, but then he ended up getting a job at ESPN. So, just kind of something interesting about, our aeronautics programs, that you can really do whatever you want while still being an aviation student flying, as well as we have a lot of different majors in aviation, between aviation security, air traffic control, aviation operations and management. Those are two separate ones. And then the flight professional pilot major as well. But like Bianca said, we're right next to an airport, Boca Raton Airport. Airports in the general vicinity, if you're trying to fly in from Missouri, West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, Miami are all pretty close. There's also a train service that will take you to each of the airports directly, which is only like $5, which is great if you're trying to save on Ubers or Lyfts or anything like that. But yeah, it's a really cool program. It's very interactive. It's also very hands-on, and it's also very small, which is a good thing, because especially with something unique as aviation, you want that personalized attention, especially coming from experience in the classes, and they're pretty difficult. So, but yeah.
Cool. And you mentioned like off campus. Can students have cars on campus?
Yeah, so you can have a car on campus as freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, any of the years. I've had my car on campus all 4 years. It's also free to park. You don't need a car at Lynn necessarily. I know probably students will have friends that have cars, or we do have public transport. It's not huge like it is back home for me in New Jersey, but yeah, if you have a car, I suggest, why not bring it? It gives you a little more freedom to check out South Florida, but it's up to you. But yeah, we do offer cars for students, or you can bring your car to campus.
Perfect. But another question we got in is about our pre-med track. So whether we have a pre-med track. So not sure how much you know about the bio program, Max. It's not really your wheelhouse, but we do have a biology program, which is our heaviest science program. It is our pre-medical track. So students in that program will get all the prerequisites they need for med school. But what's also nice about that program as well is students will have the opportunity to do research, which is really, even if you're whether or not you're planning to go to med school, having the ability to do research as an undergrad is going to help your med school application. But in addition to that, if med school is maybe not your thing either, students can also go down that research route and be involved in labs. We also have a forensic science concentration as part of our biology program. So some of our students are more focused on the forensic side and working in the laboratory with DNA and whatnot. So it's a really dynamic program. So it's relatively standard in terms of the curriculum. Obviously for medical school, you're going to need to get very specific prerequisites in, but you do have some flexibility to kind of explore some of the other coursework as well in that program. And Max, I don't know if you have any friends that are in the bio program, but.
I don't know any, I didn't have any friends that were in the bio program that went into the medical field. I do have a friend, Tara, who was in the bio program, and now she's studying biostats at FIU as a graduate student. But I've heard of plenty of students at Lynn who have gone on to like med programs afterwards, or nursing or physical therapy, either going on to other schools or other tracks in bio, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely a lot of options. And a lot of the faculty members are experienced in the field too. And you'll see this across all of our majors and degree programs, but Lynn's faculty is incredible. So they all, like for the most part, come from the fields that they're teaching in. The person that like heads our bio program is a doctor himself. I know in our criminal justice department, one of the head faculty members there was a defense attorney up in Massachusetts for most of his career. Max, you can talk about like Dean Johnson in the aviation program. I mean, really incredible faculty. We have computer animation, graphic design, people who worked on some major film productions and things like that when it comes to like TV and film. So it's really cool in terms of the faculty. Max, do you have any favorite faculty members?
I mean, definitely. It ranges not just from aviation professors. Professor Torres, I mean, she's one of the aviation professors. She weirdly enough worked in construction for a little bit, but she also used to fly herself for a private jet. A couple of my instructors, one of them used to fly for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He used to fly the owner around, and he was my instructor. And then he actually went back, and now he's flying for Alaska Airlines. Dean Johnson, as you mentioned, he was into the military, and he's pretty much been the dean for the most of his professional career. But we have a lot of professors in the aviation program, or a lot of faculty members in the aviation program that were military. Not aviation. I mean, Ted Curtis, he's like my favorite professor that isn't aviation. Like literally all my electives have been sports management just because I wanted to take his class, but he's really cool. I know he worked for the NCAA. I don't think it was an agent, but he was a lawyer, I believe, for them.
Yeah, he has
But then
but
he has a bunch of connections like in the sports industry. So if you're looking to get into that, I mean, like he's your guy. I know last night, apparently, I don't know if he was the one that set up, but through the sports management program, a guy from the Las Vegas Raiders came to talk. And then I know on October 22nd, Madison Square Garden is coming to talk as well. And then last year, I think the Steelers owner was talking to us. And the year before that was Marlins Man, which if any of you like have any social media memes that involve sports, you've probably seen the Marlins Man at games. So
he's a pretty cool guy.
Like he said, like there's so many faculty members that I've actually pretty much all of them have had some sort of experience in the field or still in the field. I mean, I had a professor, I know there's a couple professors that they're technically adjunct and they're still like literally working in the field, and then they come teach the class in like the afternoon. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And last year too, so sports management's a big program for us in our school of business. And last year, because the Super Bowl was in Miami and we were not far from Miami, our students actually got to volunteer at the Super Bowl, which I think is super cool. But we're in an awesome location for athletics, for national organizations. You have all the sports. We even have a club ice hockey team, which I think is super cool, which Ted Curtis runs.
Yes.
But you don't really think about having ice hockey. I mean, I guess you have a professional ice hockey team, but as a club sport, you really think about having it.
Something that's kind of funny, I forgot to mention because I like totally blanked that the Chiefs play in Missouri because it's Kansas City. But my brother's a huge Chiefs fan and he went to Lynn last year and he worked the Super Bowl and met like literally every Chiefs player you can think of. So if there's any Chiefs fans in here, that was like kind of one of the things they did. And he was ecstatic about that. But I just remember that because I was like, oh, Missouri. I was like,
You're like, I know it somehow. So funny. That's awesome. Max, can you talk a little bit about like the other events that we do on campus, and maybe some of your favorite events that have taken place?
yeah, I mean, I know like the big ones off the top of my head. Well, we do the first 40 days is our kind of our big thing in the first 40 days of coming to Lynn. It's not just like one huge event that spans over 40 days, but it's 40 smaller events over 40 days. So there's always something to do those 40 days. Sometimes there's multiple events, sometimes there's just one. A lot of it just consists of like social like events like pool parties that we have at our pools on campus, which we have 2 of them, which is awesome. As well as like I know we had comedians come in. We have like I know like this year they did like a design your mask type deal where a guy like through Zoom designed a mask for you, which was pretty cool. And then we have Founders Day, which is like a really big event. It's on the day that Lynn was founded, which people are gonna hate me that I don't remember the day, but I just know it happens soon. But
Usually November 1st, I think.
yes, I think yeah, you're right. I know it was like
4th, November 4th.
4th. Okay, yeah, I really need to learn that. I was always bad at that.
We just know that it happens in November.
Yeah, I just know it happens, and there's a lot of free food, and
Right.
they had like the canoe races, which the President Ross joins in, and you could race him and try to beat him, but he somehow always finds a way to win. As well as we also have Spring Fest, which is like a spring carnival. And then we have a lot of different guest speakers that have come to campus. 2012, I wasn't here, but we had the presidential debate between Mitt Romney and President Barack Obama at the time. We've had Stephen A. Smith come when I've been at the school. We've had Wild and Out. We've had Stanley from The Office. And I was really mad I didn't go because it was right before COVID. And I was like freaking out that like it wasn't a good idea to go, but now I totally regret it. And apparently he wore the same suit that like he did when he came to Florida in The Office. So if anyone's a big Office fan, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, those are just kind of some of the events. There's always something going on, whether it's not athletic events as well. Cheering on the Fighting Knights. I mean, we have a huge sports program and athletics program here at Lynn with 25 national championships. And all of our celebration of the arts is also a big one. It's a 2-day event where it's literally art show / music performances in our theater. It's like amazing how well our students at Lynn like will sing. I'm very jealous at times. I know even like there's even beforehand before like the big show starts, they have like these smaller like bands that come on, and like one of them was I think professors and faculty that like joined and made a band, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. So one thing that's super cool about Lynn is like we tend to get everybody involved in everything. So even as like staff members, so Max, I'm not sure if you knew this, but like Allie, one of my colleagues in our office actually participated in the celebration of the arts. So she was a former dancer, so she got to participate and go to all the auditions and rehearsals and things like that. So it's really cool. Lynn has a really collaborative environment, which is awesome. I think even people like on campus security were involved in that, like in the performance. So it's really a unique place in terms of collaboration, having like a family oriented type of environment where people know you. There's plenty of people to meet, but you also have people who are like looking out for you and wanting you to get involved. So it's a really great dynamic on campus. Max, can you just talk a little bit about our iPad program? Because this is something really unique to Lynn. And we've been recognized by Apple for 4 consecutive years for our use of technology in the classroom. So we're an Apple distinguished school, but Max, can you maybe talk a little bit about what that means and what our iPad program is?
So basically what it means for you as students is that every student in the undergraduate program and graduate program get an iPad. The iPad Pro for the undergrads and iPad minis for the graduate students. The iPad Pro is usually whatever the newest model is out. I know like my model of the iPad, which I think I have here, is different from the one that like my brother got last year. Oh yeah, so you decide with all the stickers you want, but yeah, so it's really cool because like my iPad says I would show you, but pretty much all of like the apps and stuff, there's a lot of them that are pre-downloaded, like Notability, which I think generally you have to pay for, but with Lynn you don't have to pay for it, as well as Canvas, which is like our academic apps. All of our books and everything are pretty much on there. There are some books where like you'll have to use like outside sources that aren't Lynn books, because some of the books are actually made by the professors, which is pretty cool. So you'll actually have a professor that's made the actual textbook teaching you the course, which I always found interesting. But some of those textbooks sometimes you have to pay for, but a lot of times we'll have the hard copy in the library, and there's actually a scanning machine in the library which you can scan the book to the iPad. So I've probably only paid like $50 total for textbooks over the 4 years, which might be like, okay, cool, whatever. But if you talk to like probably some of your friends that are in college and not having the iPads, you'll realize how much textbooks are. And it's also just a general nice tool to have because with like, job interviews or, any companies that you may intern for or any part-time jobs even, the iPad can come in handy while working with them. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool option, and it's part of the tuition and fees cost for students attending Lynn. So every student gets an iPad, so it'll be yours to use. You're never going to see kids walking around with like massive backpacks full of textbooks on campus. It's super dynamic, so it's really changed the way that we've learned. And even during the times now, a lot of us are remote. We have students back on campus, but I think it really helped with the transition to studying remotely. And I think it's really changed the way that we're going to continue learning as a university and exploring our academics. So it's really exciting. So that's a big part of what we do at Lynn. So I definitely wanted to get your perspective on that. And it's used within all of the majors too in really different ways. So depending on what major you decide to come into, the faculty all use it in very different manners, which is great. So it's a really dynamic piece to Lynn. Before I continue on, we have about 15 minutes left in this session. So feel free, for those of you that joined in a little bit late, to send any questions through the Q&A chat. We're happy to answer them. I'm going to briefly talk about our application process in a minute, but Max, do you want to maybe just go into a little bit further depth in terms of like South Florida? I mean, Florida is huge. So studying in Florida and at different colleges in Florida, it's different depending where you are in the state. I always joke that North Florida is has a more southern feel than South Florida. So Max, do you want to talk about what it's like to be in South Florida, like on the East Coast and your experience there?
South Florida to me is basically if you took all the good elements out of New York and New Jersey and made it better, that's what South Florida would be. I mean, if you come down here, you'll basically hear the New York, New Jersey accent everywhere. But it's a really diverse area in general. I mean, we have a lot of international just kind of culture, along with the international student population that we have at Lynn. So it's a big melting pot in South Florida. Like Bianca mentioned, I mean, Boca Raton's it's a smaller city. I don't know how big cities are in Missouri, but like coming from New York City, I mean, Boca is just a town. But It's still pretty large. I mean, we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies in Boca alone. Again, Miami's not far from where we are. It's about an hour um, south of us, along with Fort Lauderdale, and then West Palm's about 30 minutes north, and then Orlando is about 3 hours north of us, just to get a perspective on the state. But there's so many things to do. I mean, whether or not you're a sports fan like I am, where you want to go see a Marlins game, Panthers, any of the professional sports. I mean, they're all really, I mean, probably because they're bad, but they're all really dirt cheap to go see when COVID's not around. As well as concert venues are prevalent. I'm a big, going to concerts and rocking out at those. So there's a lot of venues. There's a lot of nightlife as well, along with, again, the beaches are the huge draw to Florida. They're beautiful here. I know Missouri's landlocked, but like in New Jersey, we have the beaches, but you have to pay to get onto the beach, which is just like insane. It's like $20 just to step foot on sand. I'm like, like what's going on here? And then Florida, it's beautiful because you could just walk right on. You don't have to pay. You have to pay for parking, but it's like everywhere. Yeah, I mean that's South Florida kind of in a nutshell. I mean, it's a beautiful area, and it's a fun place to be in college for sure. I'm sure Missouri is a great state, but try South Florida and you'll enjoy it.
Amazing. Thanks, Max. Okay, so we'll be on this chat for a little longer, but so if you have other questions for Max about like student life, feel free to send them through. But in the meantime, I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit and just talk about what submitting a competitive application to Lynn looks like. So like I mentioned in the beginning, if you jumped in a little bit late, I am the admission counselor for Missouri. So I'm the one that gets to read all of your applications. So I'm offering my personal insight here to tell you what we're looking for. The first thing, in terms of the application process to Lynn, we are on the common application and we also have our own Lynn application. So it's up to you what you want to submit. Our application is open, it's live. We're in the process of reviewing applications now. So for those of you that want to apply early action, you can apply by November 15th. That's our non-binding decision deadline. And you're guaranteed to have a decision by December 15th. So keep that in mind. We've already started releasing some decisions though. So if you get your application in earlier, get it in before the mad rush, but you'll definitely want to get your application in and hopefully get an earlier decision from us. After November 15th, we're technically rolling admission up through March 1st. That's our regular decision deadline. And then students need to make a decision by May 1st. Also, you are a senior, FAFSA open today. So if you're applying for federal aid, you want to make sure that you submit that as well. So when it comes to reviewing the application, you're going to hear this a lot in terms of a holistic review process, but at Lynn, we really are looking at the whole picture. So I kind of have this little like pizza pie thing here going on. So in terms of like what we're looking for, it really like your grades and your GPA, potentially your test scores are all part of the puzzle. But your essay, your recommendation letter, your demonstrated interest, like they all matter. All of these pieces matter to us. And the reason for that is you can see, I know Max really well, he works in our office, but we have this really awesome dynamic across campus, like I mentioned, a very collaborative environment. So we really are looking for students who are a great fit, students who have the potential to be really successful studying at Lynn. And that's not always determined by your GPA or your test scores, and we understand that. Granted, we do want to see that you have decent grades and that you're prepared to do well at the university, but we don't have these hard and fast minimums because we really do want to see the whole picture and know who you are. So I think in reviewing the application, as you're moving through the application process, keep that in mind when it comes to Lynn, because it does matter. Your essay matters to us. For those of you that aren't sure what to write about, the college essay, I really just recommend telling your story. Think backwards and think about what the outcome is that you want to have when it comes to writing your essay. What do you want to tell us? And then write your story. We don't need this grand story or anything like that. We just want to know who you are and what makes you unique and what you can bring to the Lynn environment. In terms of your extracurricular, I think the other big piece of this is really utilizing the application to its fullest, right? So you have a lot of pieces that you're going to submit in your application. Utilize that to tell us a different story along the way. So your grades tell us one thing, so maybe you don't need to talk about your grades, your extracurricular activities in your essay, because you're going to list it somewhere else. If you submit a resume, you're going to send us another document, or you're going to list it on your application. So think about how you're kind of putting all of that into the puzzle, and use every opportunity in the application to tell us something different about you. In terms of your recommendation letter, we do require one letter of recommendation from a teacher or counselor, and really think about that as well. We want to hear from someone who really knows you academically. In terms of demonstrated interest, we do consider you when you are visiting campus or logging into our sessions. I know visiting campus is a little bit difficult right now, but you can still do it. We're in person, but we also have a bunch of virtual visit options. So definitely log on, have conversations with us. I'll put up my contact information at the end of this so you can take a screenshot of it. But I want to get to know you, and I want to know what your goals are and what you want to learn at Lynn, and what excites you about Lynn University. So definitely connect with us. The other piece to this, SAT and ACT scores, we are a test optional school. So we don't require test scores, and we haven't for quite some time, actually. Again, we don't feel that it's necessarily an indicator of your ability to be successful on campus. Perhaps it is, and if you choose to submit it, that's fine too. But we have no preference as to whether you submit it. You'll be reviewed for merit scholarship with or without them based on your GPA. So definitely keep that in mind. One thing that's new this year for Lynn on our application that you want to consider is the Why Lynn section. So if you're filling out Common App or even our Lynn application, we do have a new supplemental section, and it's very brief. It's not a full essay or anything like that. But we really want you to start thinking about what success means to you. And we're curious to know what that looks like right now. So this is a question that you're going to get on the application. And this response could really affect your application decision, because we really want you to put some thought into it. It's only about 150 words that we're looking for, but we're really looking for you to first describe your idea of a successful future, and then also to discuss how the academic, cultural, and social environment at Lynn will help you achieve this. So this is really where you want to maybe be doing some research on the university. I have a couple of examples here for you. Like I said, I'm giving you the inside scoop tonight, but you can read through these, but these are some good examples of what we're looking for. For the first one, I've always strived to make the world a better place, as shown through my impact that I had made through my local nonprofit, my Eagle Scout ranking. Lynn's social entrepreneurship program brings together the best of our generations, innovators to solve the world's problems, as well as leaders in the industry, et cetera, et cetera. So really connecting the two. This is what I've done. This is what success means to me. And this is how Lynn's going to help me achieve it. In addition to that, there are some ways to really not do well in this section. Not doing your research. An example here, and these are real examples so there's another university that has a nursing program close by us, but we've received this quite often in terms of wanting to go into nursing since I was a young age, and the nursing program at Lynn University is a great fit for me. We don't have a nursing program, so this is a red flag for us if you submit something like this. Name checking another university, pay attention. We want to know that we're your first choice university, and we know that you're applying to other colleges, as you should be, but we don't want to know that in your application. We want to feel like we're the most important. So really pay attention, make sure that you're not putting another university's name at any point in the application. We'll catch it, I promise. And then not taking it seriously. Like Max said, it's fun to go to school in Florida, but at the same time, we're challenging our students and they're working hard. So to just say, oh, I saw that it was in Florida and it looks like a good school and I want to hang out on the beach is probably not the best answer for us. We really want to know what you're going to contribute to our community. So these are just a few things to think about as you're submitting the application. Like I said, this supplemental section is new, so I wanted to kind of discuss it, but this will be in addition to the other documents that you submit with us. So if you have any final questions, feel free to submit them now. We have a couple of minutes left, but otherwise, there's a bunch of different ways to engage with us on campus. All of our student admission ambassador bios are now live and on our website. You can go to lynn.edu/visit and find all of our visit programs. We have a bunch of great options. I've already seen a few kids from Missouri coming to campus in the last month, so I'm super excited. So hopefully I'll be able to see you on campus soon. But otherwise, we are doing some virtual visits. You get to talk live with our student ambassadors, so feel free to sign up for one of those. And our social media channels are awesome. So I highly recommend. Instagram is my favorite. You get to see a lot going on with like our students. They'll do student takeovers, so you get to see a day in the life of the students. There's student bios on there, updates along about what we're doing on campus. So I don't know, I'm a big fan. I don't know if Max, you have a favorite. You're probably all over Snapchat is my guess, but
no, I don't really look at Snap. I was gonna say Instagram is probably my favorite.
But definitely feel free to connect with us in any of these ways. And like I said, lynn.edu/visit, you can see all of our, we have a bunch of live real-time sessions coming up, some with our faculty members, some with financial aid. So make sure you check that out. And then again, here's our contact information. So please feel free to reach out to us. Like I said, I am the admission counselor for Missouri and other parts of the Midwest. I'm happy to assist in any way. I'd love to get to know you. So please feel free to reach out to me at any point. And Max's information is there as well. So I know he's happy to chat with you too. So feel free to email Max at any point if you want any more student perspective. Max, do you have any final thoughts about Lynn?
Just thank you for guys for coming out. It's such a late night, at least for us. I know for us it's 10:40 here. But yeah, definitely email me. If you guys have any questions on the student perspective, that's the best email to reach me at. And if you guys come down on tour, hopefully I'll see you guys out there. Maybe I'll give you guys the lowdown at Florida.
Yeah, or the tour. Although I don't know if you're touring as much these days, but yeah, hopefully you can come visit us. But thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's been wonderful chatting with you. I hope you found this informative, and we look forward to seeing you on campus soon.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that informative presentation. And just to wrap up here, there is going to be a quick survey at the end of this. Just 4 brief questions. We want to get an idea of how we're doing and how we can improve this program. And please visit moacac.org because there are more sessions available, and all the recordings, including this one, will be on the website as well. So anyway, thanks again for joining us. Hope you had an informative time listening to the representatives from Lynn, and have a good evening. Bye, everybody.